All right, welcome. It's just such a special occasion to be able to have a relationship coach, trauma expert, Robyn Smith, who has been a part of our community for many moons. But this is a really special time because we are really wanting you to have a chance to take a look at your communication and what you could be doing, particularly for those who identify as women, around your communication to have a voice, be seen, be heard, and move forward in the healthiest way possible, not only in your romantic relationships, but in life in general. And that's part of why we're bringing Robyn on, is because this doesn't just apply to folks in romantic relationships currently. It's for folks who would like to be in one, who were just in one, and to other relationships like parent-child relationships. But we will be putting a special focus on the romantic relationship aspect, just because that is Robyn's expertise, and we really want to tap into that. So welcome. If you're somebody who's tired of not feeling heard and you've been feeling misunderstood, would really like to have a breakthrough around healthy communication, you are in the right place. Welcome, everybody, and especially welcome to Robyn. Now, Robyn, I'm going to do a little more introduction of you, but can you give folks a sense of like what got you interested in doing this work in the first place? Like what kind of got you into the relationship coaching sort of genre? Help us understand.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Vanessa. Great to be
For
here.
some reason, I'm not hearing you.
Oh,
There we go. Now I can. Yes.
okay, good. Yeah, so
Of
thanks for having me. Happy to be
course.
here and share with you and your people, your community. Yeah, so I've been a yoga teacher for 28 years now, and about 10 years ago or more, I was thinking about, like, I love teaching yoga, but I wasn't feeling enough depth in meeting with people, right? Because I'm kind of over here in the front of the room and you're over there doing what I tell you to do. And so it's kind of a one-way dynamic, right? So
Right.
I got interested in coaching, and I'd been in a long-term relationship. Now we're 21 years in. So then it was, around 10. And yeah, just I've learned so much from it. And I was studying Buddhism and tantric yoga philosophy and loving the blend of what I was learning and how that applies to my life and relationships. So yeah, I just decided to dive in, and partly it was because I was having trouble in my friendships. And so
Mm.
as I dove into this work and conscious relationship, I gained so much for my inner world, as well as for my relationships with friendships and my marriage and every relationship. So that's kind of what spawned it, as it does for many people, is like the pain of feeling disconnected often inspires us to seek support so we can feel more connected. And that is definitely what was part of it for me, in my friendships. Yeah.
And without connection, we really can feel very alone, and we can kind of feel untethered. And one of the greatest predictors of resilience, we're talking a lot about kids in our space, but um, is how connected they feel to their caregivers in childhood, but then also even in adulthood, and how
Yeah.
connected like how many strong connections they had in their life in general. And so this is a big piece that you're taking on, and I'm so glad that you are. And let's get into some pieces that, folks can be learning from you today. So let's kind of paint a picture of what's possible when you have good communication in your relationship, and help us understand, beyond what we just talked about, the resilience piece, the connection piece, like why is it so important?
Yeah. Well, I would say connection is number one.
Yeah,
Again,
it's like the big one. Yeah.
we all need connection, and we sometimes think we don't, and our culture tells us it's okay to be alone, and you can be a monk and all the things, but people are really wired for connection. So we thrive when we have it. And when you can think about when communication's not going well, how frustrating it can be, how alone we feel.
Mhm.
So when you get good communication online, you feel more heard and understood. And that's so important. That's like something we're all longing for, to be known, to be seen, to know that you get me. We want that. We want to be gotten by somebody or more than one person.
Right.
Also, when we have good communication, we can feel like we're on the same team. We're like seeing the world the same way, or maybe we don't have to be, because we can disagree, but we can still, like, there's a harmony there, and a kind of again, like a kind of connection, a feeling of support. And then another thing is that we just feel closer, when we're communicating well, we're being seen and heard, there's a closeness that develops from that. It's an openness, more of an intimacy. And then it's more ease. It's more light. You're not working as hard like we have to work when someone doesn't get us. It's like, I'm trying to tell you, or that's not what I said, or you're not getting me. And that's work. And it's frustrating, and it can hurt the heart sometimes because we so want to be known. So that just is off the table. We know there's flow and there's ease, and just, everything's easier in the relationship.
Absolutely. That's part of why we, in the work I do with parents and their kids, like we're often talking about like, what do you say? Like, how do you convey that you care and you support the child, and you also have a limit and you also want them to respect it? Like, it's so much around communication and that healthy communication. And what I'm coming to understand as I work with adults, as you do too, like it's never too late to learn healthy communication tools and habits. And it's also, there's like no shame in admitting that you might have some growth in this area, particularly if you didn't grow up with the best models of communication, right? Like they might have been okay in some ways, but maybe needing some important
Most
healthier
of us do
updates.
not have much training in communication, good modeling. So
Right.
yeah, a lot of us are in the same boat. Like, we need to learn whenever we come across it, we realize, oh yeah, I need to start at the basics here.
Yeah. And oftentimes there's this pride that we have to get out of the way to go first. Like, I'm going to work on my communication first.
Mhm.
And once we kind of put that aside, well, I mean, you've seen it. I've seen it with parents, and you've seen it, within your work with folks, and even within myself. But help us understand, like, what are some of those pitfalls we should watch out for? Like for me, like pride comes to mind, of like saying, no, everyone else need to communicate better with me.
Right.
That's something I've definitely fallen into, and is a story in my sort of family system. Like, no, you go first. No, you go first. And then you're sort of at a standstill. Tell us some other things we should be watching out for, Robyn. We'd love to know.
Yeah, great. So the three on top, my top three, and probably this is because of where I come from, but blame, criticism, and defensiveness, I would say, are the top three communication pitfalls that I see in my family of origin and with my clients as well. And so I'm gonna break those down a little bit and differentiate them. So blame being like when you've got often a you statement, you're telling someone they're at fault. You did it. You shouldn't have done that. Why did you do that? It's your fault, that type of thing. Sometimes the blame goes this way and it's my fault, and we're hard on ourselves. But whenever we're doing that, we're creating more distance between people. So if you're wanting connection and you're blaming, you're not going to get it. Because we'll talk about why in a moment, But so number two being criticism. And it's a little different from blame, because when we're going to criticize, probably also with that kind of pointing the finger, but calling a name, you're an idiot. Why how could you be so stupid? Or that was, you're just so immature, or whatever we might say. You're not careful, you're not caring, so every time we're calling somebody a name, you can say that's criticism. You're attacking who they are as a person. So whenever blame or criticism are happening, probably defensiveness is going to be your response, somebody's response to that. If you're getting blamed or criticized, you often perceive it as an attack. It can feel hurtful, and you're going to defend yourself from the attack. You're going to put up a wall energetically, or you're going to attack back with blame and criticism going the opposite direction. You're going to make excuses or explain yourself, and all of that is, again, creating more distance between people. So blame, criticism, and defensiveness are three things to watch out for, especially if you're wanting more closeness with somebody and you find yourself in those habits.
So if we can all think of a recent communication, moment of connection where we felt misunderstood or not seen or not heard, my guess is that we could all probably at least identify one of those elements being there, whether it's the blame, the criticism, right, or the defensiveness. And just kind of pulling the curtain back on that helps us to also get a little distance from it too, to kind of look at like, what are the patterns that are, leading down this challenging, painful road in this connection. It can be so wildly helpful. So thank you for helping us put some language to it and understand what we're looking out for. what are some other things that can get in the way of healthy communication? Like those are some signs, some pitfalls, but like help us understand even more, like how might we get to that point where
Yeah.
we're in
Yeah.
that blame, and
Yeah.
criticism and defensiveness?
I always like to look at the source, and in this case, for almost everybody I know, there's been some trauma, some childhood trauma. And a lot of people think trauma, oh, I didn't have any trauma, I wasn't abused, or you know, I wasn't in a bad accident. But there's lots of types of trauma that most of us have experienced, like your parents arguing in front of you, or somebody humiliating you, or your parents kind of withholding approval until you were perfect, or feeling like nobody liked you because your sibling got a lot more attention because she was a star student, or maybe you had a sibling or a family member who was really ill, and so you didn't get the care that you needed. Maybe somebody was in the hospital, maybe somebody was in jail, maybe somebody was working, 80 hours a week. You were in daycare. There are so many things that can happen, or it could just be you were hospitalized, you were sick, and so there was a break in your bonding period. So all these things can affect how we develop, how we feel about ourselves. So they affect our basic sense of self, our identity, our
Yeah.
core identity. And when those types of things happen, usually what an infant and child, well, automatically what an infant or child does with that is they go, it must be my fault. So there's a self-blame thing, and they don't even have to be verbal to do that. It's just, it happens automatically. It's our human nature to as a child take that on. It's, I must be bad. There's something wrong with me because my parents are fighting. There's something wrong with me because my parents got divorced. I need to fix this thing. I'm going to be even better. I'm going to be the perfect, person who never has any problems. I'm not going to have any needs. So whatever we do to kind of overcome whatever happened is our survival strategy. And often that will be then creating more distance to protect yourself. And any of that is going to affect how you communicate, because if you feel insecure, you think nobody likes you, or you think you're a problem,
Unlovable or in some way. Yeah.
that stuff, it's going to affect how you show up in your relationship. If you feel insecure that you're not lovable, you're going to be looking for signs that people don't love you. See, you don't love me. See, you don't love me. Or you're going to be looking for more approval and trying harder to do it right and say the perfect thing or be nice, not hurt anybody's feelings, not be honest, not have boundaries. So these things happen early in life that create, how we show up now, including trust issues. If you were attacked or abused, you're going to have trust issues, and then you're going to draw people to you who are not trustworthy. You're going to be looking for who's lying to you, and then that comes out in what you say and how you act. So all of it, we can't not be affected by that, and unless we do our work, and so it just automatically affects how we communicate, because we're wearing those lenses of like how people see us, or I have to protect myself, people aren't safe, or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to have a little like raise your hand moment around this, because what I mean by that is like we're like so there's a physician who did a lot of research on trauma, and she created this STARS system. You might have heard of it, Robyn, and particularly around like pediatric health. And she's just looking at like what number of traumas in the little t or big T, like we kind of have this like range of how the intensity and the impact of trauma. What on average do children experience by the time they're 13, 12, 13, and on average it's 3 to 5. And so on average, so that means that typical kid has been through at least 3.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say that parents were like doing it on purpose or whatever. Like life brings events, like, and you listed so many that a lot of folks don't even haven't yet wrapped their head around the impact it's had on them. And I know that's a lot of what you do in your work, which is what I really admire about your work. One of the things that stands out to me is how much you are like really wanting to take a close look at what now, like what has shaped your current, communication and relationship to yourself and to, stories you tell about yourself and your identity, and how we can move forward. So I know that today, like, we're not like, if you and I were in a session right now, we'd probably go really like, go right for it. Be like, okay, Vanessa, so what do you think were your, what were your big T and little T traumas? How would we, we work through this process together, which you love to do with your clients, I know, and I know you have an event coming up where you're going to be helping folks sort of like prepare for that work and get a good foundation. It's an amazing training, by the way, which we'll share a little bit more about. But just for today, like, what can you help us understand around, like, what are some communication tips? And I know you had 3 prepared, I think, right?
Yeah.
That will help us to get going on that road. Now that we have this awareness of what the pitfalls are, what the source might be of some of our communication, issues and challenges, what are some things we can do? What are some
Yeah.
keys that we can focus on?
Yeah. So good. Thanks, Vanessa. Okay. Basics, right? So we're starting with, I'm going to give you 2 that set a foundation for healthy communication and one that's a nice tip you can apply. So all of these you can apply right away, and I hope you do. The
Awesome.
first one is good eye contact. And so that is, it's basic, right? You think of course, but often, like, I look away, and it's okay to look away, but it's more like when you're, yeah, I'm listening, or you're walking away, I'm hearing you, I'm in the other room doing the dishes, or if you're just a person who has trouble giving eye contact because that's really uncomfortable or awkward for you, it just does affect the quality of the communication, because, like we were saying before, people want to be seen, they want to be understood, and that's how part of how we communicate is just with the eyes. It doesn't even have to be the words, but like, oh, you're with me, your presence is here. So that's what eye contact can give someone, and just kind of soften and relax, relax into more ease, knowing, okay, she's with me because she's at least giving me that. Of course, we can give eye contact and our head can be somewhere else, but we do, we still, it helps. So do your best with that. And also the caveat I like to give with this is that some people, like I said, do have a lot of trouble with eye contact. And I just want to say, I see you. And I know that's hard. And if you had very early trauma, that could be the source of it. And you don't have to know the source, but if you do your inner work and get support, it will get easier. And so you just do your best. And if you're having an important conversation, especially, this is when it's most important. And so if you want somebody to know you're doing your best, you could just tell them, like, I know eye contact's a little hard for me, but I'm doing my best to be present with you. And that will help them to know that you're not listening. So moving on to number 2 is consent. And that's a well-known word these days, but just to break it down a little bit, is that, again, this is if you're going to have an important conversation, not like someone's walking out the door, hey, don't forget the eggs, not that. But this is like, if you want to really be heard and understood and have connection, then you want to make sure the person that you're wanting that with is available for you for that. And you want them to be available physically, like in the room, eye contact, not doing something else. You want them to be available emotionally. They can give you their presence. They're not overwhelmed. They're not grieving. They're not, angry about something else. And that mentally they're here. They're not exhausted. They're not, their head's not going a mile an hour on other projects. They're here. So those are different types of presence: physical, emotional, and mental. And when you get that, you'll get their buy-in, like, yes, I can give you that for 30 minutes or whatever it is, you're setting the stage for a much more fruitful conversation than if you get somebody who's like, just off of a tough day at work, and they're like, God, I don't want to talk to you right now, I need some space or whatever. And they're like, okay, but they don't want to be there like that. That's not going to go well. Right. So give that gift to yourself and get the buy-in, get the consent that someone is available for your conversation as best you can.
That's really strategic. So it kind of sets the stage too for a more resource conversation we like to talk about a lot. And we talk about parents being resourced for handling
Yeah.
their kids' emotions and things like
Right.
sometimes that, yeah, needing to actually check in and not just roll into the conversation, and it can be such a
Yes.
big, important foundation. Yeah. So I'm hearing
Yeah.
eye contact and consent are the two like
Right.
standouts that in your work that you've seen really make a difference. Yeah.
Yeah. And we could even flip the direction of the consent and just checking in. Am I available for this
That's
conversation right
right.
now? You know,
Yeah.
um, so, and then the third one is a listening practice, because so many of us weren't taught, again, these skills. And listening, again, as we've been saying, people want to feel heard and understood and seen and gotten. And so to listen is to, like you're doing really well, Vanessa, with the eye contact, the nodding,
Yeah.
letting me finish, and then reflecting back what you heard, maybe adding your own twist on it. It's like that we can call reflective listening, when you take something and you reflect back what you heard, at least a little bit, maybe a couple bullet points. It helps someone know, okay, she got what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
And then, I'm understood, instead of not knowing. Or if you were to just say, well, that reminds me of this conversation I had with my mom 10 years ago, and you just start talking about that for, 10 minutes, I'm going to be like, did you even get what I was saying? Even if it's related, it can feel like we're just not hearing each other. Um, so when we do that, it's just, again, like an I hear you moment. I'm getting you, I'm with you. And if they missed something, you can always clarify, actually, that's not quite what I meant, or not quite what I said. And it's okay if they're wrong. You just take a moment to get it clear. So eye contact, consent, reflective listening. Those are some 3 really good pillars for healthy communication to occur. And then from there, if you have more skills, you implement them along the way in the conversation.
Amazing. Robyn, this is some powerful stuff. I mean, I can just imagine, like, I'm trying to think back to the more difficult conversations I've had that didn't feel like they went in the direction I was hoping they would, right? And also the ones that did, and what a
Mm,
difference it made when these elements were there or not there. And I think all of us who are listening right now, and we have someone here on Zoom, a client, and a member of our communities here. Hi, Kirsten, and others who are listening on Facebook. I saw several people already drop in and say hi, and like the post. Just thinking about, maybe reflect to yourself the last time you were in a
mm,
conversation that was difficult, and just think about, like, oh, what was present there, and what did I look like? Did I present to the other person that I was available and connected, and with that eye contact? Did I get that consent? Did I practice reflective listening? And this is not to then go, oh no,
did it better.
disaster, I'm so bad at this, right? It's more to just go like, get curious and go, oh,
Mm,
maybe there's something really here that we could, if we were to kind of skill up and practice and bring in, into the system, the family system, or into your own lives, what an impact it could have in all the relationships. So, Robyn, this is amazing. Thank you so much. I've every time I come into contact with Robyn, I either am like reminded of something that I needed to hear again, or I have like a new layer of understanding to something, or I get a brand new idea. And if you like the way that Robyn communicates her ideas and her trainings, coming up, will absolutely bring you to the next level, like, of depth. Of course, we can only do so much in an interview. So, Robyn, I hear, tell us a little more about this no cost training that's coming up, starting on Monday, that folks might want to join in on.
yeah. Yeah. I'm excited about it. It's called the Rock Your Relationship Communication Training. And it is for women and people who identify as women. And it's all online. It's going to be about an hour a day, starting Monday, March 6th. We're in 2023. It's going to be in the evening. And what happens is, it is a community of people just coming together for this training. And I give some teaching each day, and I give a skill each day, at least one, sometimes two. So you get something, and I ask you to practice it before the next class. So it's actually like a workshop where you take it, you implement it, come back, report on how it went, see how other people's responses are. We're all on Facebook looking at the responses, ask questions. There's assignments. If you choose to do them, you can be eligible for a daily prize or for my $2,000 grand prize of coaching with me. So there's the whole point is that I really want you to learn these skills so you can implement them and we can change the world. That's the point. So one
Yeah, like,
relationship at a
right.
time. No pressure.
Yeah, because the way people navigate their lives in the world shifts when they feel like they have those strong bonds and really great connections, and they're able to communicate, and not just to communicate to like have a positive impact on others, but also to get their needs met, in
Yes.
order to let their desires, their wants, their dreams to be expressed. And um, oftentimes when those things are not happening, we don't live as satisfying of lives, and maybe even don't get to fulfill our sense of purpose as much on the planet. And so this is life and world changing, this work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would
So
agree. And let me say a little bit more as we're going to cover how to get heard, like a simple skill you can share so you can be way more likely to get heard. Another one for how to get understood. Another one to speak with clarity. How to transform conflict. Just looking at my notes, and avoid defensiveness, and how to create connection over time, and also how to feel closer and get your needs met. So that's 8 or 9 things that we're going to cover in this about a week of time. So
and what's
yeah.
different about a training, I like it, is the interaction. Like you said, you're going to have assignments, you get to go try it, you get to get feedback and report back. And that workshopping style is such an important element to actually learning a thing. Because if you just hearing about it, like, yeah, we can all listen to something on communication. But actually getting to put into practice in real time. And that's why you take the time to spread it across the whole week, because people
Yeah.
get to go practice and come back and practice and come back. And that format is incredible. I have a master's in education, so I'm a big fan, Robyn. This is this is excellent. And how generous of you to be able, and like what a great position you're in to be able to offer this for free. Like that's no small thing either. I mean, these are incredibly valuable, folks pay thousands of dollars for your support. So this is a really unique opportunity to be able to have access to Robyn that she only does a couple times a year. So yeah, if this timing is right for you, I highly encourage you, click the link. I put it in the Zoom chat here for those who are on Zoom. It's also in the Facebook post where it's streaming live into the group. And we'll also be sure to put it under the YouTube video if you're watching on YouTube, the replay. And don't hesitate. I mean, it's free, and you get to be a part of Robyn's world and continue to learn from her. So there's no risk here. So if it's in any way aligned with some of your goals, and your interest is piqued, please sign up and please share widely with friends, help spread the word, because this is life-changing stuff that, can really make a big difference in your life and in others' lives. So really encourage you to share.
Agree. Thank you, Vanessa.
Of course. Yeah. And
I
I
hope
a little shout out to Robyn, by the way. I'm in a community of thousands of coaches and practitioners over the years, and in particular in the last few years. And there's a reason why Robyn's here. Like, this is not like, I don't want to overemphasize, but I want to underemphasize like that Robyn is here because she's excellent at what she does, and she changes lives every day. And so I just wanted you to know this is like this amazing person, and you all got a chance to feel that, your expertise and your wisdom, Robyn. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today. It's really, really wonderful to have you on again.
I'm honored, Vanessa. Thank you for seeing me. And I would say right back at you. I totally appreciate what you're offering in the world too. And it's nice to be able to support each other's work and really, feel strongly about how important that is. So thank you for what you do. And thank you for honoring what I do. And together we are helping to change lives, and really love that. You've got this wonderful community here. So I hope to meet some of you in my training.
Wonderful. Yeah. Healthy families, healthy individuals within those families, and then a healthier world. That's what we're doing it together. So high five on that. And lots of love to everybody who's listening. And if something stood out to you, we always love to hear it in the comments. You can put replay if you're watching the replay, or just one takeaway that you really loved. Helps Robyn and I also to know what was of value, and for us all to learn more together. And with that, we're going to close. Don't hesitate, sign up for the training. It's so worth it. And you'll get to be a part of Robyn's world and continue to follow her work as well. All right. Lots of love to everybody. Goodbye. Take care for now. See you next time.
Thanks, everyone.